Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News for You. I'm Adrian Dunbar. In the news this week, after the BBC cancels all regular programmes on Friday, the head of scheduling opens his viewer feedback inbox. As one dog grooming salon reopens in Bicester, Alan Carr's pug arrives for a nail trim.
Okay.
And as gyms reopen across the country, a new public information film asks men to refamiliarise themselves with the equipment. On Paul's team tonight is a hugely successful political journalist. I'm not saying he's powerful and influential at Westminster, but he's just had a text from David Cameron. Please welcome Tim Shipman. And with Ian tonight is a comedian who presents the jewellery-making contest All That Glitters. As a reality TV show where contestants show off the rings, it's second only to Naked Attraction. Please welcome Katherine Ryan. So the first question of round one covers a momentous story that we simply can't avoid. As you all know, last Friday, the nation was united in sorrow following the sad announcement that the much-loved MasterChef final had been taken. Incidentally, if you are offended by jokes about Prince Philip, that's fine. It's what he would have wanted.
I just want to say, Adrian, this is difficult for you because it is, a major, historical figure has died. But when Margaret Thatcher died, Brian Blessed hosted the show. And you can imagine that 2 minutes silence was very hard to achieve.
The BBC coverage of the Prince Philip story has become the most complained about event in TV history. They had so many complaints, 110,000 of them, that they had to make a special form to accommodate them. Viewers switching on BBC 4 and settling back to watch Sounds of the 70s saw this announcement and assumed a nuclear war had started.
It is classic. I mean, in television, they're always like generals fighting the last war. This was about the Queen Mother, and the BBC got it in the neck then, because they didn't put on enough coverage of the Queen Mother. So they thought this time we'll have nothing but coverage when this royal dies. So we had this just absolute tsunami of coverage, which was on literally all the time. And even if you were quite interested at the beginning, and I am quite interested, I sort of, let's go back and do the Second World War and naval battles, let's have it all. By the end of it, I'm going, stop! It's just, they had the same thing on every channel all the time. And I know you're going to say this is sour grapes because we were taken off, which it is.
You already touched on the massive row in 2002 after the Queen Mother died.
Yes.
When newsreader Peter Sissons was accused of having a too frivolous tie and a suit that wasn't dark enough. And it emerged that as he got ready to announce the Queen Mother's death, Peter Sissons was told to choose a burgundy tie, not a black one. And the news editor said to him, don't go overboard. She's a very old woman who had ITV1 also pulled their schedule, though not ITV 2, 3 and 4 and all those other rubbish ones. Yeah? They couldn't really pull the kind of names the BBC had. Who did ITV have on?
Was it Alan Titchmarsh?
No.
Was that BBC?
Actually, it was Theresa May.
Ah.
And what was it about her, according to Philip Schofield, that made her an appropriate contributor?
Had she put her £1,000 leather trousers on again?
Let's have a look, shall we?
Someone who saw that close-up was our former Prime Minister, Theresa May.
Well, she herself had a husband called Philip to turn to.
Yes, what a fabulous segue that was.
Yes.
Yeah. How did Radio 1 Dance Station adapt in preparation for the breaking news last Friday?
Did they play solemn house music?
They kind of did. Let's find out. Yeah.
He's looking good, though.
Why not as a remix?
Yeah,
I
very
I
good.
have definitely heard worse mashups. I kind of enjoyed that little interlude.
The thing I liked about all this was that normally when someone dies, all the hideous stuff about them comes out of the woodwork. With Prince Philip, there have been so many terrible stories while he was alive that most of the coverage was about what a nice bloke he was. Apparently, when the Queen had her coronation and she walked into the back room afterwards, he said, "Where did you get that hat?" And I thought, that was rather charming.
There was a very, very good story about him at school when they tried to set up a sort of Hitler Youth organisation, and he refused to join, and then whenever they did the salute, he would say, "I'd like to go to the toilet." Early Philip banter.
This, of course, is the death of the Duke of Edinburgh. His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Earl of Merioneth, Baron Greenwich, Royal Knight of the Most Noble Order of the Garter, Extra Knight of the Most Ancient and Most Noble Order of the Thistle, Member of the Order of Merit, Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order, Grand Master and First and Principal Knight Grand Cross of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, Knight of the Order of Australia, additional member of the Order of New Zealand, extra companion to the Queen's Service Order, Royal Chief of the Order of Logahoo, extraordinary companion of the Order of Canada, extraordinary commander of the Order of Military Merit, Lord of Her Majesty's Most Honourable Privy Council of the Queen's Privy Council for Canada, personal aide-de-camp to Her Majesty, Lord High Admiral of the United Kingdom. Mother of God, how big is that headstone? Last week there was an outcry when the BBC suspended most of its programming to make space for coverage of Philip's death. According to The Guardian, BBC 4 was taken off air, though we should point out there are no witnesses to corroborate. The Times showed how the hearse will make its way from Windsor Castle to St George's Chapel. Now listen, fellas. If there's one thing I've learned, it's never revealed the true route of a convoy. Paul and Tim, take a look at this.
Yes, oh, that's the moment, I suppose, when people...
Freedom!
There we are, gather outside. Live from Blackpool, it says there, so I've no reason to doubt it. That's not a good look if you're a hairdresser. Yeah, everything's opening up again, or a lot of things are. Things that you can do indoors, things you can't do outdoors.
Correct.
Correct, there we are.
This is the news that lockdown restrictions have been eased in some parts of the UK and that the national target to vaccinate the over 50s has been met.
Yeah, I know the over 45s can now get a jab, which is very exciting for me personally, but
Good.
even more exciting for all those middle-aged, middle-class people who are finally getting some drugs for the first time since Glastonbury 2019.
Why has our vaccination rollout been so successful?
Has it? No, I don't believe it's difficult when they say it's been a real success, because I feel like the government always says what we've done is a great success. And then they talk sense sometimes, but I feel like if wisdom started coming from the toilet, I would be suspicious, because I'd say, well, that sounds true, but it's coming from the toilet.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel anytime Matt Hancock speaks.
But there was a very, very good guide this week. The Prime Minister was asked why he thought our figures were going down so much, and he said the important thing to remember, it was not the vaccination, it was the lockdown. And I thought, great, it's the vaccination.
You know, we've now got our relationship with the EU on an even keel as well, haven't we? We're sending them the Kent variant, and they're sending us the vaccine. It's a pretty good deal, really.
You're way out of line, fella. Right. So what have you all done this week that wasn't legal last week? Yes, exactly. Pubs, shops, salons and staycations are back. Let's see two people delighted to be able to visit a restaurant in Cranley, Surrey. Yes, that looks fun, doesn't it?
I bet it was fun.
If you were having soup, it would take you about 4 years to finish it.
Lots of my friends saying, oh, let's go out and have a drink. And I think, no, I have done that in lockdown. That's the one thing I think I've probably got quite good at.
Have you been sitting on a park bench on your own here with a...
Swearing with a bottle of cider.
Yeah.
And a newspaper.
Yeah.
Bloody Cameron.
But it is difficult going back to actual measures when you're not free pouring them yourself in the lounge. That was an adjustment. We had a pub lunch outside, and I just thought, something's wrong with this fridge. I didn't make it.
And what did the staff at Magnolia Barbering in Chesterfield have to do?
Did they have to employ a hairdresser for every single hair that was being cut?
No, they had to put up nightclub-style barriers outside to control the crowds of men desperate for a haircut. Boris Johnson apparently was amongst those saying he needed his haircut badly. And this week, someone made his wish come true. So how were visitors to Alton Towers theme park greeted when it reopened?
With heavy sarcasm. Hit in the face with wet fish.
They get free ride.
According to the Daily Telegraph, a welcome party included Eric the Yeti and Darwin the Dodo, which came as a disappointment to Eric and Darwin, who didn't know their colleagues had given them those nicknames. Now, shall we have a look at how one reporter covered the reopening of Blackpool Pleasure Beach?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of work to do here at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, getting ready for the crowds to come back on Monday. Here's a bit of the work that they've got to do.
That man there, does he always shout like that, but he thought to try and cover it, they put him on a roller coaster?
Yeah, he probably always does. Over at IKEA in Bristol, according to The Times, the store had a relaxed air with customers limited to 1,000 at a time. While Rachel Kipling drove to John Lewis just to breathe it in. And what did the chairman of NERVTAG, N-E-R-V-T-A-G, have to say about all this?
Oh, is it one of the subcommittees?
Yes, This is the new and emerging respiratory virus threats advisory group. Chairman Professor Peter Horby was asked about the easing of lockdown restrictions, and he told Times Radio, hopefully it won't translate too much into hospitalisations and deaths. Well, that's the spirit. Finally, we mentioned Nigel Farage's venture into personal video messaging last week.
Yes.
Let's take a look at how that's going.
Right, yeah, lovely.
Happy birthday, huge anus.
Was that him looking into a mirror?
So this is the joyous lifting of lockdown, or if you're watching the repeat, the reckless harbinger of the third wave. One vaccine development this week is that AZ has been backed by the MHRA and EMA using data from the ONS and the PHE to support the JCV. I mean, hang on. I only said yes to this show to get away from bloody acronym. Dangerous clots are also in the news due to Johnson & Johnson. Well, Stanley and his missus certainly produced one. According to the Mirror, on Monday, 4 million pints of beer were sold in the UK, the equivalent of 92 pints a second, which proves if there's one thing we can roll out faster than the vaccine, it's the barrel. How I missed those spur-of-the-moment, impromptu, quick drinks with mates, where you just go online to the local pub's website, access the booking form, find an hour-and-a-half window on April the 23rd between 5:45 and 7:15 in the garden, use a credit card to pay a deposit to secure the booking, and enter the names, emails and mobile phone numbers of each of the people who will be attending, and chill. According to The Sun, on a cold Monday night, people kept warm as they drank outdoors thanks to blankets and hot water bottles. And in Northern Ireland, blazing police cars. So, on to round two. The Investigation Board of News. Fingers on buzzers, teams. What do you think, Tim?
Well, it's David Cameron.
That's right.
This is the part of the show where we talk about nicking bent lobbyists, allegedly. He got involved with this financier chap called Lex Greensill, Lex Luthor not being available that week. And he got him to come and work for him. And then when he stopped being Prime Minister, he started doing some work for Mr Greensill in return, phoning up all his old mates and asking for lots of money. Unfortunately, most of his old mates told him to get stuffed. Boris Johnson has been shocked to discover that all this has been going on, so he's ordered an independent inquiry.
And it's very urgent. It only took 11 years to be investigated.
But Dave is going to turn up. He's going to answer all the questions, though I think you'll find, Adrian, that he does want to be quizzed by someone one rank senior to himself. But, you know, Dave is very, very sorry. He's very, very sorry he got caught.
Boris basically said he was going to set up an inquiry into Cameron because he doesn't like him anyway, so that's great. And he thought, I'll throw him under the bus and that'll do. And then The inquiry has generated a whole lot of stuff about Boris, too.
Really?
Yes, and about his involvement and him being lobbied by the Saudi Arabian Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who apparently is able to ring up our Prime Minister and say, I don't like what's happening with the Premier League, sort it out. The Prince then rang Boris and said, would you correct the decision they've made? It's fairly straightforward. I think they've got the idea that British Prime Ministers are there just to do whatever they say. I mean, Cameron, this is a year after the Khashoggi affair, is in a tent going camping in Saudi Arabia with the Prince. You know, there's a crackling fire. Chuck another journalist on it.
It's reminiscent of Glastonbury after it went posh. Everything went wrong.
You seem to be obsessed with Glastonbury. Were you turned down from headlining at the Pyramid stage at some point in your life?
Yeah, my puppetry of the penis has never yet been accepted as an act, so.
But, well, I mean, when I look at Cameron, I just want to question, I want to say, what has happened to us? When did we stop caring about honesty and integrity? It's not a rhetorical question.
You know, and a barefaced liar promoted to our highest office. Don't forget that, Ian.
David Cameron did say he learned one lesson. He said that when he was exerting influence within government on behalf of private financial service companies, that he should do that meddling through the official channels and not via texting.
Right, so in a letter.
Not sorry, but it's sort of a lesson learned.
This isn't a grey area. These people who procure this then go and work for them. And now we find out that a civil servant, while he's a civil servant, oh, did I not mention I've got another job?
The head of procurement.
I know exactly how you guys feel because this relentless dishonesty is frustrating, and I experience it whenever people talk about, do the Kardashians edit their photos on Instagram?
What is Keir Starmer suggesting should happen?
He wants another inquiry, this time run by MPs.
Yes.
Hurrah!
He's also saying this. Let's have a look.
We don't need another Conservative Party appointee marking their own homework. Actually, Mr. Speaker, the more I listen to the Prime Minister, the more I think that Ted Hastings and AC12 are needed to get to the bottom of this fight.
That's why we have tougher laws on lobbying. A great shame that Labour opposed them. Mr. Speaker, yes, we are getting on with rooting out bent coppers, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, very good, Boris. Yes, well done for picking up the torch there, yes. And finally, let's have a quick look at how Alex Salmond's Alba Party are doing in their efforts to promote themselves in Scotland. Oh, mother of God. Right, this is the news that David Cameron will face an investigation over his role with finance firm Greensill Capital. Despite dragging Mohammed bin Salman into the Greensill scandal, Cameron remains on good terms with the Saudi prince. In fact, he's just been invited to a free stay at the Istanbul embassy. Right, fingers on buzzers, teams.
This must be a story, judging by a picture, that a marrow has managed to grow the baldest man in Shropshire.
Yes, that's right.
It's right? No, it's not. Oh, you said it was right.
No, it's not right. No.
Well, no, it's not right. It was right. I can confuse a stupid person.
I love this man. His name is Gerald, and he's a septuagenarian who's gone viral, which is the last thing a man in his 70s wants to hear during a pandemic. But he is a 70-something-year-old influencer, huge following, and he grows big veg.
Yep, that's him. This is the news that 72-year-old retired barge controller turned gardener Gerald Stratford is Gucci's latest supermodel, right? Shall we take a look at Gerald in Gucci ads, right?
Yes.
Here's the rather dashing Gerald showing some models a feast of salad.
It's really good to show thin city dwellers what food is.
Yes, that's right. And here he is watching on as one of the models vandalizes his cabbage patch. Actually, I assumed he was holding a cabbage, but it might just be the sleeve of that Gucci jacket. Gerald became a Twitter superstar after a picture of his King Edwards went viral.
I'm sorry, how does a picture like that go viral?
No.
A man holding a dish full of potatoes. What's gone wrong with the world when that goes viral?
So when did we stop caring about... No, that's...
I mean, Loch Ness Monster, views of the Earth from outer space, a man holding a load of potatoes. Click, click, click. I don't get it.
Well, they turned off Gardner's Question Time last Friday, and people needed an outlet. And he's very charismatic. He always says good morning in his videos.
Yeah.
He's a real lovable chap.
Well, look, if he'd got a bigger bowl, he wouldn't have to hold 3 potatoes in his hand. That's where he's gone wrong. Maybe that's why people went viral.
Yeah, a big bowl and a small measure of potatoes. So we
Yeah,
all know what
exactly.
that means. Right. Does anyone know what Gerald's speciality veg is?
Carrots.
Here are his carrots.
Is he just this bloke's a little bloke?
Yeah,
He's only like about 3'6" or something, and he's got normal-sized carrots. And everybody's going viral for no reason at all.
Here are his enormous onions.
This is looking more and more like a kink all the time.
Yes. Would anyone like to see a gardener who's had slightly less good fortune than Gerald?
Yes, we'd love to.
There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the news that giant vegetable grower Gerald Stratford has been signed up to be the face of Gucci's new collection. Gerald has grown carrots and parsnips that are 3 feet long, any one of which could feed all the other Gucci models for a year. So time now for the odd one out round. Fingers on buzzers teams. Leonardo da Vinci, 2 visitors at an art gallery, Sir Anthony Hopkins and Picasso.
Well, it's all going to be art-related, obviously. Sir Anthony Hopkins played Leonardo da Vinci, didn't he?
I think he played Picasso, didn't he?
Picasso. And this pig is called Picasso.
Yeah.
Because he paints with his snout, allegedly, or, you know, that looks like an accident to me, but apparently he's a genius.
Sir Anthony paints.
He does. Now you've got it.
Yeah, right. So they all paint. The pig paints, Sir Anthony paints. That couple, he can't be this easy. They're the only people who don't paint.
Ian, bang on again. They're all artists apart from the 2 visitors to a South Korean art gallery who painted on an artwork. So what made a young couple in Seoul think they could start painting on an artwork?
They walked across an installation not knowing it was an installation.
Yes, the untitled piece by American graffiti artist Joe One, worth over $300,000, was displayed, unframed, in a shopping mall with paint cans and brushes scattered around it. So they presumed it was a piece of participatory art. Let's have a look at the painting. I don't think you need me to point out where they daubed the paint on it, you know, thus ruining it completely. Yes, there you are, you see. Hang on. I think I've met D.I. Kate Fleming in that underpass. Yes, so Leonardo da Vinci is, of course, an artist. But what has been revealed...
Tough, this quiz, isn't it?
Yeah. He's giving you the answers here.
What has been revealed about him in a new documentary?
Doesn't the aforementioned Prince of Saudi have his most expensive work on a yacht and refuses to let it be displayed in a museum?
Oh, this is Salvatore Mundi.
Correct.
Ah. And people aren't entirely sure whether this is a Da Vinci or not.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a suggestion that the Saudi prince may have paid a phenomenal amount of money for something that is fake.
Yes.
Like David Cameron, possibly.
Experts at the Louvre conducted X-ray analysis on Salvatore Mundi painting previously thought to be by Da Vinci and concluded that he only contributed a few brushstrokes, the lazy fecker.
I didn't know that Jesus was a fan of indoor bowling.
So, meanwhile, what has the talented artist and Picasso been painting recently? I'll give you a clue. Here is the finished piece.
That does look like Boris Johnson to me, I'll be honest.
Well, actually, that's Prince Harry, apparently. And
How do we know?
the pig said. Who is this beguiling creature? Yes, it's Dolly Parton.
Ooh.
And, yes.
That's it?
Yeah, apparently.
She's not aged well, is she?
And who's this?
That's Donald Trump.
Correct.
Wow!
I've got into the pigs
How do you
genre
do that?
now.
How did
You've got into the pig genre?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. And finally, who's this fetching portrait of?
Is this the Bolton Wanderers reserve team?
No, this is actually a nude donkey.
A nude donkey as opposed to one wearing a suit?
Yeah,
Can't believe how this show has deteriorated over the years.
yeah.
I mean, what has happened to us? I mean,
Exactly.
when did we stop caring?
In our universal grief, we're naming celebrities painted by a pig.
The porcine artist is called Picasso. It's a good name, but I'd have gone with Francis Bacon myself, who also used to get slaughtered after a day's painting. And lastly, Sir Anthony Hopkins was meant to be attending the BAFTA Film Awards ceremony virtually on Sunday, but missed it because he was working on a painting in a hotel room. Yes, I've always wondered who did those paintings. Hopkins thanked his fellow castmates, saying, "I want to go to all of your houses and kiss you, but I can't for various reasons." Yes, and those reasons are social distancing and consent. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication the newsletter of the MYA, Model Yacht Association. I'm guessing sales are done. And we start with Mystery Tree Beast turns out to be...
That's Nigel Farage. Yes, I know this one. I saw a bin bag full of chickpeas.
Actually, the answer is a croissant. Animal welfare officers in Poland were alerted to a mysterious beast in a tree which turned out to be a croissant. Here is the offending pastry. Next, mystery has hundreds of sheep. What?
Are single.
Become lunch.
Answer is stand in circle in field.
Oh.
Right. Yes, this is... Shall we have a look? Yeah, there they are. If you want to know what's happening, really happening, the sheep taking the mickey out of the pigs in the next door field by doing an impression of a Cumberland sausage. And finally, if you ask most people, what does the Model Yacht Association provide for its members, the first item usually mentioned is what?
Friendship, fellowship, technical solutions.
Is it a yacht?
Scurvy.
Sailor uniforms.
Insurance.
Insurance? I remember reading a story about 30 years ago about a man who built a scaled-down model of the Titanic.
Yeah.
And he launched it and it sank.
Well, as they say in Belfast, she was all right when she left here. The article goes on to reveal that the maximum limit for each claim is 5 million. Model yachts sound a bit sad, but they're currently the only way you can get sausages from Northern Ireland to Britain. And so the final scores are Ian and Katherine have 6 points, and Paul and Tim have 6 points. And I leave you with the news that evidence comes to light that Robert Jenrick and Dominic Raab are members of a secret fight club in the basement of number 10. Scientists announced that they have successfully created an artificial intelligence cyborg fusing Elton John and Jurgen Klopp. And at a stag party in Berkshire, one frustrated partygoer realises that there must have been a typo in his online request for 2 strippers. Thank you and good night.
You have just seen her catching some jokes. Why not join host Katherine Ryan on All That Glitters, Britain's next jewellery star? Press red now to watch an iPlayer. It's 40 years since their first hit record, Duran Duran with Something You Should Know. You can go and dance and reminisce on BBC4 shortly. Next on One, we join Would I Lie to You?